31 races down. Always seems like a lot when you look at the schedule, like 31 races, especially if you're a racer.
Yeah.
I would think, oh my gosh, dude, I don't know how I'm going to survive. There's 52 weeks in a year. I'm racing over half the weeks in a year. So busy schedule. But for us, it always seems like we're never short of entertainment with racing. And Las Vegas seemed to deliver with the drama, good action on the racetrack, and pretty much everything you could ask for in between.
Dude, you're spot on. And the unexpected happened in both 250 and 450 classes, with just how certain riders finished and played out, some good and some bad in terms of the unexpected. The good being Pierce Brown, what great rides. The bad being Chase Sexton for his injury happening there. My favorite track at SMX would probably be the first one.
I would agree.
Maybe just track design and layout and how they got to ride. It seemed like the technicality of the Vegas one was more of like the actual dirt and maybe like the limiting factor of how they could build the track. Cool idea. Just technical, it seemed like. Maybe not as many options. That'd be a better way to put it. That were equal time around the course.
For sure. And I think a theme that we're seeing with all three SMX rounds this year was it was hard to pass, especially round 2 and round 3. I think of how many tight 180-degree left and right-handers they had, especially at Las Vegas over the weekend, where it had like a hump in the middle of the turn, and it's very one line, because if you were to just go on the outside of the main line, you're just going where there's nothing to bank off of, A. B, you're on really slippery, marbly type dirt that's dry in the Las Vegas desert area. And then C, you're just giving up track space and racing position onto your competitor. So it's a lose-lose. Granted, we did see some creative passing zones from some riders, but for a majority of the time throughout the SMX races, it kind of seemed like the track's really limited in passing zones. So I think back to last year at the LA Coliseum, where they were going up and out of the parasail. Granted, they had no whoop section, but it was really like a supercross track. That was the year that we saw Jet Lawrence go, I don't even know what you'd call this, like quad on off into the supercross triple.
Yeah.
Where he passed Ken Roxon. And I think of that, like tracks like that opened up some areas where you could pass. And they had a really cool sand section. Of course, we saw Chase go down there last year. And that was a split lane as well. So we saw some riders going for left and right. It seemed like this year, the tracks are a little bit of a miss in the sense of the actual dirt itself and the track design being a really limiting factor on the amount of racing and passing that we saw over the weekend. So a bit of a bummer to see, but knowing the guys over at Feld and the AMA, they do a really good job at putting on these races. As much as we want to harp on them to improve upon certain things, to make this whole thing go 31 races a year is a whole lot. So props to them for putting this on, because I think at the end of the day, we could all sit here and say we love dirt bikes and we love dirt bike racing, and we're all entertained on a Saturday night. One rider who we talked about earlier briefly, Pierce Brown, really surprised me this weekend, just because we've seen Pierce string together 4th, 5ths, maybe sneak in a podium here and there, but to come out and straight up beat Haiden Deegan in the second moto was, whoa, shots across the bow, because he may or may not be a teammate to Haiden Deegan next year. So we'll have to see a couple weeks time for that. But his last race aboard the Red Bull Trailer Designs Gas Factory Racing team, the team's kind of going off to the wayside, taking a sabbatical for the year, we think, and there will no longer be aboard gas equipment. And for Pierce to be moving on to another team is a really good storybook ending for TLD Gas and Pierce Brown.
Yeah, you know what that is. That's what a good conclusion to their relationship, working together. I almost feel bad for them, because I've seen it with Pro Circuit before. They pick up riders right out of the amateur, and they spend so many years grooming and helping these riders become the pro they are today. And then they let them change team, and that rider just goes and starts winning championships. So I almost feel bad in the sense of where he's going definitely deserves the ability he has. And if he gets some titles, awesome. But I almost feel bad for the team that helped him get to that point, because you kind of forget for it. But we've seen it happen in the Pro Circuit a few times over the years. They have riders that didn't quite play out, and then they leave and they go have a better success afterwards. But we've also seen Pro Circuit hire people back and then have good success with that. We might see it with Marchbanks for it. But what would be your standout highlight for the 250 class?
Standout highlight, just Pierce Brown. I mean, he, especially the second moto, when Deegan made his way into second place, I was like, okay, it's on. Like, he's going to want that 6th moto win in the SMX series to go undefeated, Granted, he didn't have to go chase down Pierce Brown to win the championship, but knowing Haiden is such an alpha male, I would have thought that's in the back of his mind. And he probably did make a push. We saw that insane scrub in the out of the drag strip, and he landed in the sand section, and it looked like the bike didn't even react. Like, he just landed and the bike just stuck to the ground, and he had the throttle on the stop. So props to Haiden for just absolutely sending it per usual. And it was really cool to see that. And I just totally thought that he would chase down Pierce Brown, but Pierce held his own and was able to cruise it on a win for not only the moto win, but the overall first of his career too. So shout out Pierce Brown.
Yeah, you're right, man. Haiden was riding second moto as if he still wanted to win that second moto. Like, he was not letting off. And as you alluded to, that scrub to flat landing was not him just laying back and letting them get away. That's, I still want to try to win this. And that was probably, that's my favorite highlight of the weekend, was that. It just seemed like it showed you how good of a rider he is, how good his technique is, how much he can muscle the bike, and then also how good his bike is. There's no way you do what he did and any of those one things aren't dialed like it should be, and you don't ride out from that. Like, that's everything that's showing you just how good his program is. The rider and the bike. So that was really fucking badass. Keep it up, Haiden. I'm excited to keep watching your career.
The whole season, like, granted, Supercross didn't go his way in the sense of going into the season. Granted, he did have the wrist injury and he had surgery, and we know he's getting those pins removed out from his scaphoid, I believe it is, but it didn't go to plan. He didn't win the Supercross championship. Okay, no worries. Just goes out, stamps the Pro Motocross championship. Okay, no worries. I'm gonna just defend my Super Motocross championship. And I think he's just set up for a good off season. Enjoy that Audi R8 he just bought, and stroll on into maybe West Coast if he wants to shake things up and race West Coast this year for the first time in his young 250 Supercross career. But who knows, to see which coast he goes into, whether it's January or maybe even early February. But I think for Haiden, he's just gonna be living life for the next couple months, enjoying it, and we'll see him in next year, 2025.
I like what you talked about earlier, man. How impressed were you with Masterpool's second moto, just ripping those outsides?
Dude, oh my God.
It seemed like a class in cornering.
Yeah, that was an honorable mention. I honestly should have said that was probably my highlight for the weekend, to be honest, because that had me so excited. I was like jumping up and down in my seat, because for him to just go through the left-hander, like old school style, like foot off the peg, just rail it, and then go to the following right-hander and just be like new school, like feet on the pegs, stand up, really flat back, elbows out. Before Ty even entered those berms, he was so freaking committed to just blasting those things.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was just absolutely awesome. So out of all like the 250 moments that we've seen, I think of Chance Hymas at Redbud doing that gnarly jump down the hill that we talked about.
Yes.
I think that and Ty Masterpool's 2 corners in a row were probably the highlights of the year as far as riding moments. Like, that was just absolutely insane. And you could probably throw in Deegan's scrub off the tunnel jump, but that was pretty impressive.
It was, man. It was. What a great series for everybody in the 250 class. And man, excited to watch more of it this Supercross season.
Yeah, and just a couple quick guys I want to shout out. Jordan Smith getting on the podium. Another guy who will be moving on to a new team, moving on from Monster Energy Stars Yamaha to the Triumph Factory Racing Squad.
They're getting filled out over there.
Yeah, they're getting really filled out, and they're bringing along another rider from Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki, Austin Faulkner.
Nice.
And I think a lot of these will be announced in probably the coming week or two.
450 is coming out soon is what they're saying, they're teasing.
Yeah, they dropped a video debuting the Triumph TF 450 RC, did a sneaky little spy shot of that on their Instagram page, and I was really excited to see that because I wasn't expecting the 450 to come out this early, in the sense of maybe a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now, they're like, hey, we're gonna go 450 in 2025, we're gonna have a rider, this and that. Obviously that's not happening with Joey Savacci moving on from that team and them not picking up another marquee 450 level rider in the 450 class. It's cool to see them having a 450 bike, what seems to be ready and going to be unveiled on October 3rd, if my memory is correct.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it, man. I wonder how much similarity of components it has with the 250. I mean, is it the same exact chassis, suspension, all that stuff, or do they do some minor adjustments to have a specific chassis for the 450? But we'll get into that good stuff as it comes out.
Yes, yeah. Be sure to subscribe to the Ride J-Bay YouTube channel. We do pretty cool bike breakdowns, whether it's just a whole model release. I think back to the KTM and the Honda, we covered those on the same day. And when on October 3rd, when the Triumph TF450 RC releases, we will be doing a build breakdown or a bike breakdown of that. And yeah, my guesses, my early predictions and guesses are going to be pretty similar style chassis between the 250 and the 450, probably some subtle changes, whether it's tube ball thickness or different, slightly different geometry for the 450, but I would imagine it's going to come with all the goodies that you're going to want. Your traction control, KYB suspension, but probably settings specific to the 450, Brembo brakes. So I think that's going to wrap it up for the 250 show. We talked about riders, the track, team switches. We didn't get into all of them, but they will be coming out very shortly. So stay tuned. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up?
Man, what happened to our boy Kitchen?
Oh, yeah.
That could be a whole other episode.
For sure. Just big question mark over my head.
Yeah. Hopefully, he's going to turn it around. I think just tough season. Hopefully with the new year passing and going into 2025, he just feels like a refresh and like that's behind him. And he has a whole new kind of perspective on what's to come. Yeah, absolutely. Well, very well said. That's going to wrap it up for the Las Vegas Recap Show 250 edition. We will have a 450 edition up on the Ride JBI YouTube channel very shortly. Stick around for that. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys in the next one.